hair goes up at the front. Cockatoo. You've got a cockatoo look today. Anyone on podcast? Mark is looking like a cockatoo.
You just wanted to say that word, didn't you?
So good morning, everybody, or good mooning, indeed. Welcome to Coffee Moaning. It's lovely to have you here.
Chin chin.
Chin chin.
Down the hatch.
What does your cup say? Mark's rocket fuel and my coffee moaning mug. Except I've got Mark's one. So I have not done my homework this morning.
Which is strange because you've been up since 6.
Yeah, but I have had quite a situation going on.
Oh, right.
But so because Mark, do you quite like me? I think if you were at school, you would have liked me and you would have shared your homework.
Well, I think you actually know more about the stories than you think, because one of them is one that you pulled a couple of days ago. Actually.
Oh, what is it?
Well, so we're doing the saddest women. Apparently, the UK has the saddest women in Europe. I read the story. There's fuck all in it. Sorry to get going on that, but I'm going to get going on that. I feel a bit aggravated by that one. We're going to talk about how to beat stress. I've just been roaring with laughter.
It was so funny because I pulled this article a couple of days ago.
You want to do your intro thing? Did you want to
Mark was standing in the doorway and I said, oh God, look, maybe we should do this on Coffee Moaning because everybody's stressed. Look, the 14 ways that you are stressed. And he went, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
I've never seen a more stressed reaction to anything. Yeah. And he dismissed it and we didn't do it yesterday.
Right.
Why did we dismiss it?
I don't know.
Because you didn't want to talk about your stress.
Yeah, well, stress is it's stressful, isn't it? Keely, I can see you're struggling, Keely. I hope, Keely, just to quickly say, just that you don't have to contribute, just chill, just sit, just be with us. You're more than welcome. I'm just getting a sense in the cross chat that you're having a bit of a struggle. So yeah. Just don't put pressure on yourself, Keely. You're probably feeling stress right now.
So listen to the stress topic. Actually, on that, we were going to say there's a few people that have messaged us and said sometimes when the comments are cross-talking, it can be really distracting. So Mark usually puts this link up half an hour before. So that's quite a good time for people to talk about stuff that's outside of the topics we're discussing. Because we have so many comments, we really want to be able to see the comments that are commenting on what we're talking about. So if we can quite strictly keep to talking about of course, the occasional happy birthday, all of that, that's fine, absolutely. But big chats that go on for a while are distracting from the topic.
No. And also, I think also the half hour before we do it with the Sunday show too, it's really nice to kind of keep, I like that little chat room for you guys to kind of catch up with each other. But also on a more important note, it's not even about the fluidity of the chat, which is one thing, which is quite hard because of course, if someone's really struggling, it's really hard to best accommodate you in a really meaningful way if you're struggling, because of course the conversation's charging along and we're talking about topics and all that kind of stuff. So it's not about it even being just a bit difficult to manage. It's also you may end up feeling a bit sort of left out, and we don't want that. So yeah.
Okay, so
UK saddest women, how to beat stress, baby reindeer interview. We have to talk about it. Everyone around the water cooler right now is going, did you see that last night? We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about extreme corsets. Not because I've worn any recently, but when I do wear them, they really, really squeeze your lungs, don't they? And we're going to do a very brief chat about Gaza as well at the end. For those of you who are wanting to have a slightly less serious Friday, we'll park that towards the end. What would you like to kick off with, Nads?
Well, let's go with, as everybody is talking about it, let's start with the baby reindeer, because I've had loads of texts in this morning. First of all, how many of you saw it? Just say yes, no, just say yes or no, whether you saw it. It was a strange one. When we saw that this was coming up, we were a bit like, is that the right thing to do?
We asked the question on a poll actually yesterday on the Coffee Moaning thing, and I think it was split down the middle, 50-50, that you felt he shouldn't have done the interview.
Right. So Baby Reindeer, for those that haven't watched it, is a drama of a true story, and the one of the main characters in it is a stalker, and there is an actress that plays this person. And as is the way these days, when the drama came out, the internet sleuths took action and decided that this woman was the actual stalker. I can't remember what her name. Fiona. So it was Fiona that was being interviewed yesterday, the alleged stalker, by Piers Morgan. And I think a lot of people felt uncomfortable about the idea of doing it, but everyone I know who felt uncomfortable still watched it.
Amy May makes an interesting point. I just want to pop this up. You've literally just made it. Let's pull it in. I don't think she'd rest without it happening. She seemed very determined for what I've seen in her statements before the interview. So,
yes. She 100% wanted to do that interview.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think we're sitting here, we're viewing her as the victim or the one that was put upon. I mean, if she was pushing for this, or if I'm sure lots of people have approached her for interviews, lots of people, and she did make a point at the beginning.
Well, she made a point of saying that she felt that there was a connection between her.
I think we were all looking for flashes of the character and those little kind of moments and sort of, ticks and kind of flourishes of kind of, potential rage. Can I tell you one fundamental problem I had with the whole thing that I still sit with, and I want to know if anyone else has this problem. What we never seem to get around, and this isn't, I don't know if this is ontological, the right word, or a semantic, there's a real problem with this. Because on the one hand, people keep saying, what if it isn't her on Twitter? Is it her? There's the constant question. It's a bit like stroking his cat. Is it her? How much of her is in the film? How much? Because some people are saying, and we asked the question ourselves last night, what if this actually isn't the very woman that he's created? Is he not allowed the artistic license to have embellished, shifted, changed, dramatized a real experience that happened in his life with someone? And do you know what I mean? So it's partly her and it's partly not her.
Is it James T. Russell, the writer of Doctor Who? Not James. What's his name? Russell
T. Davis.
T. Davis said, if it had been him, he would have gone to much greater lengths to disguise who the person was.
Well, I mean,
which I thought was interesting because the sleuths found tweets that were similar, weren't they, to what he'd put in the script?
Agree, Christopher.
So I think.
I suppose
she admitted that she'd met him in the pub. She admitted some of the stuff. She said some of the stuff, but also not everything in a drama is going to be exactly as it was.
Yeah.
Is it?
No, I want to be a bit clearer. I'm oscillating. I'm struggling to actually say what it is. I'm just getting a signal, hang on, from my brain. No, what I'm trying to say is this is the part of it that was confusing me. There was a curious desire from her for it to be her in the drama versus there was a tug of war in her. She wanted it to be her, but she didn't want it to be fully her. And I felt that's where the interest lies, is at what point she has a desire for what this, because you can see it. She had a desire for him. She had some desire. She wants us to know it's her, but she doesn't want to know it.
And
us
also
to know it's her
she hasn't seen it. What did everybody else think? Yeah. What did you think, guys?
Rhys Roberts, the level of care point that was discussed was interesting because even though Richard wanted to safeguard her, Piers did mention she could be found instantaneously. Basically, I think Piers made a valid point when he said, really, their duty of care, and I think we have said this, it has failed because they've succeeded.
Well, I think Russell was right. It's what if it had been him, he would have completely, completely changed her. Hey, Laura, how are you? And put some, not give literal, I mean, the pub's the same. It's just. I think there was a really obvious trail.
Yes, and it's curious, isn't it? Because actually, the more you think about it, the more you think. You could have made this true. You could have very simply cast her a very physically and visually different person.
But I suppose for him, he was just. Thing is, he's very truthful. He is Kim. Self-deprecating, isn't he? I don't know many people that would admit to the things that he admitted to.
Richard Gadd.
Yeah. So maybe he is somebody that he couldn't walk far enough away from the truth to hide it. Do you know what I mean? His story of what, I'm not talking about the facts and figures, I'm talking about his failings as a person were unbelievably brutal to himself, weren't they? And it's almost like he couldn't resist it being somewhat close to his truth.
Alison Barber says, I'm more concerned that no one is talking about the other character. Yes, I know what you mean. I mean, it's curious, isn't it? Because the very thing that's made this a huge success, and I think Piers summed this up perfectly, it's an incredibly complex drama in terms of what its implications are, what it's stating about the state of codependency and need and connection and lack of connection, and feeling like you've got sort of an aspect of adoration or love. And I think the reason, I don't think it's just kind of piqued everyone's interest because of the, if you like, the misery, Kathy Bates type, is it Kathy Bates? No, what's the name? Yeah, it's sort of aspect to it, which of course that's in there. I think it also speaks to a loneliness in everyone, and the way in which loneliness can contort into a connection on so many different levels. And I think the reason, personally, I suppose that's why I felt sort of split between really defensive of Richard Gadd, because I think when we came out of the theatre, it's very rare you get something this searingly honest where the writer throws himself under the bus as much as he's kind of, he's not, is he throwing anyone under the bus? He's just, he's as much the kind of cause of the problem as anyone else.
But
and he admits that. That's what I'm saying. But that's incredibly unique in drama.
I think it's going to have to come to a point where he says what has been maybe over dramatized and what hasn't. Do you think? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, if it goes to court, I mean, because she's going to take them to court, isn't she? So I suppose an awful lot will have to come out there.
Kimberly Jones, my question is, what did she gain from doing the interview if it's true she was paid very little?
I think she wanted to have her, moment on it. I think. But yeah.
Intriguing.
We will never know the absolute
Just finally,
truth.
Laura, I haven't seen you for a while. I love how the show depicts the human condition. No one is all good or all bad. Absolutely.
Yes,
I think
put.
that's exactly what it speaks to. Okay, well, let's talk about the UK having the saddest women in Europe. They're very clear about this. This is the saddest women in Europe.
First of all, whilst you're filling it in, I'd really like just a line from people on what they think about that. When you hear that headline, where do you go to in your...
Yeah, does it speak
as a woman living here, or as a man, because you might live with a woman, where does your brain go to straight away? Because it's really interesting where my brain went to.
Can I tell you where mine went to?
Yeah, where did yours go to?
Mine immediately went to, when I saw the survey, I thought, well, they haven't asked any men in this either.
Because it's not a survey about men.
No.
Women.
Hang on a minute. No. Not in terms of versus men versus. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm sure if you asked men versus all the men in Europe, I think maybe it's more about being British than it's about being women.
I see what you mean. Yeah, and there'll probably be a poll about men.
And maybe
because don't forget, British children are the most unhappy in Europe, and that's been every year for 5 years. The Children's Society have done their...
so maybe I should be clearer. My thought was maybe it's about being British rather than it's about,
I see, yes.
Women.
Well, that's interesting because when I heard that, first thing I went to is the life here is very...
How could they possibly know that? I'll tell you in a minute. It's not very scientific.
The life here is very hard. It's tough. The prices are unbelievable. Family, I think, is more and more disconnected. I think now you might all laugh. I think we don't eat together enough as a family and friends. There's not Sundays where everybody pulls together. So for me, that is all men and women and children, right?
Yes.
But if I go to women, right, what's the first thing I think of?
Well, what is it?
Better not say it.
Good Shot Lollipops thinks the weather's shite. That's why. What are you going to say? They have to put up with men.
A lot of British men aren't very...
Yeah. What?
Aren't very nurturing or romantic or...
I think women now want an... Okay, I want to push back...
sweeping generalisations of the most intense kind.
Does anyone else agree with this?
I'm just trying to think in broad brushstrokes. What do the first things I think?
Well, what is it?
Those two things.
Say them more clearly.
The life here.
Yeah,
living La Vida Loca doesn't happen here.
Talk about the other problem.
And the other problem, I think, is that men, massive generalisation, in this country tend to be...
I don't see a lot.
A wee bit less.
Of the what? Okay, give us the benchmark that you're talking. I hope you're not talking about me.
Of course I'm not.
No. But give us the benchmark for other people to compare. Because I to be really honest, when I've passed through, and this is gross generalisation again, when I've passed through most Italian towns, I'm not seeing men nurturing their wives. I'm seeing them all having a fag and a coffee everywhere, talking absolute shit about women.
Please do realise we are
mass
just having fun
generalising.
here.
Yeah. But I don't see Italian men in Naples.
Yeah, but if you go, say like if you're in France, in a lot of places in France, you'll see like French men doing a little bit of this while they're having a coffee.
But you know why? Because
later
that day they're doing it with someone else.
Yes, but that doesn't matter if they're being nice to their wife.
I think it does. Okay. I think women men, however good a man can get. God, this sounds. Is that Gillette? However good a man can get. No, it's a
however good a man can get. The best a man can get.
Oh God, it was, wasn't it?
The best man. I'm making it sound like the Flake ad now.
Yeah, no,
Flake. I think we're using the Flake music with the Gillette ad.
No, but it's the best a Flake can get. No, anyway.
The best a man can have.
However good a man gets, even like, I think a woman is designed to become dissatisfied and want more. The grass is always greener. But
because it usually is. Yeah, because they're usually stuck with some arsehole.
But you didn't hear what I just said. That was very vicious. Are you feeling a bit of resentment?
Because women are not the grass is always
green.
Women are putting up with
hang on.
I'm
not saying women reach.
Men aren't.
Where men differ is I think a lot more men just go to what they think is greener grass stupidly, and they get there like an absolute moron sheep, and they go, ooh, and then it's suddenly greener somewhere else and greener somewhere. Whereas I think however good a man can get, without we should break the record, you want more. It's never enough. However much one rectifies, repairs, retrieves one's behavior or retreats or shifts, you're on a mission. You're on a failed mission as a man, I think.
Steph Short says this sounds like how to stay married so far.
Christopher Condell says maybe if more British. Christopher Condell says maybe if more British men had fisherman jumpers, then more women will be happier.
Thank you, Christopher.
Okay, what does
I buy him fisherman jumpers and he puts them down the other end of the wardrobe.
Hang on, I don't know where they are.
I see it every single day.
Why don't you bring the fucking thing down? Because I can't get into your room because your clothes are everywhere.
Like there is a fucking
of course I will
on.
In this weather. What a nice description. Okay, do you want to know why they're unhappy? The main reason they say women are unhappy, they say pivots around women's health provision.
Well, that's bloody true. 100%. You should have been with me in that NHS England bloody meeting.
Yeah. No, but they're talking about the fact that there is no equivalence or prioritising or due attention given to essentially definitively female issues. I suppose the problem I have with this one as an idea is that, again, it's a little bit like when you don't know anyone who's a racist, you can't even begin to comprehend racism. Because I'm around everyone talking about the menopause and everyone talking about the importance of it and the prioritizing of it, and been surrounded by women all my life. I feel that it's all tickety boo and it's all being talked about.
Yeah, but it's
out there, is it really not?
Not out in the world. It's a bit like because we live in London, we think, being gay is like we don't even think about it, and it's just like there's no. But you step out. You talk to my gay friends, and you say you step out of London or even out of showbiz. And it's a very different world. And I think that is true. I think a lot of women feel unheard by their doctors, by their partners,
employers.
And they, and they feel judged that they've got more miserable, they're choosing to be unhappy, from the first time we get a period pain, which let's remember most men would not be able to bear for 5 minutes, we're told right from that point, just get to work, get yourself dressed, get to school, get to just quiet. You've got to keep carrying on. If you don't keep carrying on, everybody's going to think that you're a wimp and you're a wuss. And that really does start right at that age and then carries through.
So according to the Hologic, what's Hologic? According to the Hologic Global Women's Health Index report, British women are sadder and more stressed than their European counterparts. Let me give you I should have given you this at the beginning. A global survey on women's health and well-being has found that 32% of British women felt sadness the previous day, compared with 26% of women in the EU. It's probably because of Brexit, I'd have thought. British women were also more stressed than European, and also it's probably the tourist tax as well. British women were also more stressed than European women, with 39% of them feeling stressed the day prior, compared with 34% of those from EU countries. I mean, what they don't have here is how they've done the test. I mean, how do you ask someone, were you sad yesterday? Did they just say
I mean, how many people did they ask?
I think it was 12,000. Does it say?
You scratch the surface, and going back to your point, Mark.
Oh no, it was a survey of 79,000 women across 143 countries. Wow. Good God! They asked them all, "How happy are you?" The UK was 37th, putting it below the EU average and on a par with. Whereas the women here here we go, on a par with Lithuania, Slovakia, Bulgaria, and France. So the women in France aren't happy because their men are two-timing all the time.
Massive generalisation. We're just having a bit of fun. Caveat.
Look, this is a gross generalisation for any European men here, but I don't feel we have many. But I can tell you right now, most European men I've driven past in Europe don't look like they've got a blind, foggiest thought about a woman at all. They're like that. Look at her.
Mark!
They are!
He's being silly. Moving on.
I can't tolerate really loud Italian waiters either. Sorry, just does my nutting. All they're about is screaming, "I'm an Italian waiter." I'm sorry. It's just you get these European moments, don't you? The French hate us. It's all right. We're idiots. Okay,
well, the Spanish want to charge us 14 quid a day just for going into the country.
Well, because they got no water. They got no water.
Mum was raging about that yesterday.
They got no water.
£14 a day extra just to be a tourist.
Welcome, Anthony. Unfortunately, I think your surname looks Italian. Anthony Foligno.
He loves Italian.
I love Italy.
Of
course I do. And in fact, when we were in Rome and you're seeing our couples, what was my refrain? Do you remember at one point?
Everyone's so nice.
God, they're all so warm and lovely, aren't they?
Italians.
I was so shocked and horrified. Anyway, okay, let's talk about how stressed you are. Who here is stressed? Say yes, say no.
Let me hear if anyone in here says yes. I am. I live with a lot of stress.
Yeah.
I am. We are addicted to stress, both of us.
Love it.
And as my dear friend Donna said last year, and I keep bringing it up into my head, she said, I realised I felt guilty every time I wasn't stressed. She's a very workaholic type like us. Donna May, you'll know her from the makeup.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anyone work harder than Donna.
Stacey Randall, never been more stressed than this sweet sweetie.
Yeah.
Sending you love, sweetheart.
And she took her holiday. You know when they say a week's holiday isn't enough because a week is only when you just go. And so her and her family did a bit of a longer trip. And she said it was like after about 10 days, she realised, she was just sitting thinking about what was it, this thing that's like, she realised she felt guilty. She wasn't stressed enough.
Right.
And that single line has taught me more about myself than many other lines I've ever heard about being stressed. And I really try and tune into it. And it comes back to that thing that we like, we all think that if we're not doing not all, many of us stress addicts think if we're not doing something, then we are lazy and that there is something wrong with us. And this report is very stark, actually. It says that what does it say about the smoking, Mark? Sorry, I read it yesterday. As I said, I didn't do my homework.
Oh, I didn't read them. I didn't see the smoking bit.
Something, maybe it was a different headline. Yeah, it's a very long article, but they were putting it right up there with smoking as being,
a report published in January by Mental Health UK found that 9 out of 10 adults said they'd experienced high or extreme levels of stress, that it had overtaken musculoskeletal problems as the top reason for workplace absences. And it's the UK is at risk, says Mental Health UK, of becoming a burnt out nation, which it defines as a state of emotional and physical exhaustion.
And stress is so damaging, said one expert. Stress deserves to be a top public health priority. It's certainly killing a substantial portion of us, just the way cigarette smoking did.
Well, Russ just popped his comment up there saying he believes stress took his mother's life.
Oh, really sweetheart, sad. That's so really hard, sad. Isn't it? Because you know what? I'm going to be really stark here. That's that's my greatest fear with this one.
Right.
That is my greatest fear with you, because even last week, the gut clinic lady that we talk about often, Hannah, she was saying to Mark that the way that he is, the way that he drives himself, which is still kind of like that addict gene in there as well, isn't it? She said, you thrive on being like on the floor, but still driving through. And Mark went, and she said, anybody else would be in bed very, very sick.
Right. Yeah, that was a bit of a shock.
And Mark,
this is based on my stats.
Let me just finish this because it's a really important point about the way that we think about stress. There was a moment where Mark had pride in that, because he was like, wow, other people would be ill in bed, but I still continue on. And it was only I saw that, because if somebody had said that to me, I probably would have gone down the same route as Mark. Oh God, that means I'm super strong, because somebody else would be ill. because she said it about Mark and I could see it. I was like, Mark, you do realise that she was saying that you have an incoming disease.
Yes, no. When we stopped going wherever we were going, because we were quite stressed trying to get somewhere, you said you. In fact, it was you sitting down and explaining and unpacking it to me that kind of helped kind of explain the severity of the situation. I think. And what?
And what did you think?
Oh, well, yes, you're right. I think you're right. I think one of the problems with stress, and I think one of the problems with this country, is that there is a kind of competition of who's more stressed than who. I think there's a huge badge of honor, even around things like I've sustained or survived. Hang on, I sustained and I survived today on this little sleep. And there is a kind of one-upmanship and brinksmanship and a kind of, they're
within ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah, within ourselves. I don't feel that with anyone else. I don't sit there going, well, I don't. If I'm feeling this, I'm not interested in this idea of feeling I'm more stressed than someone else. A lot of people. And I don't know why there is this thing, want to sort of really tell the world that they're more stressed than you. And I find that really, really annoying, because what they're saying in that is they're judging you. They're trying to sort of say...
No, but hang on.
I'm just getting into the core. But I do feel that with me, I have got my wires crossed. And for me, stress has become something that's a virtue. It's a symbol and a signal of something productive. And I think what is productivity? It's that classic thing of sometimes going slower to get to your destination. You can get there faster. All these rationales need to come in. Kimberly Jones, I used to be like that, Mark, until my body gave out completely. Oh my God. And I've never been the same since.
Thank you for that message, Kimberly, because that's what
Thanks, Kimberly.
Hannah was telling him. She said anybody else would be in bed very ill. So what does that tell you? That means that dis-ease is incoming.
Thank you, Mohit.
It's just knocking on the door just behind you. So when do you take a break? I think you finding it harder and harder and harder to take a break. I don't see you getting any better.
I agree. Natasha Tiramos beautifully put. We have all unfortunately learnt that our value lies in our productivity rather than just who we are. Yeah. Yes. And even I would go so far as to say that even in mindfulness, it's become slightly hijacked by our commercial civilization. Even in mindfulness, there is a stress contingent and a competitive contingent and a productivity. How many hours am I dedicating to it? It's falling foul of the very thing it's setting out to sort of cure.
It's like that brilliant Instagram post I sent you the other day about look at the difference between Italy and America. Do you remember? And she said, we have to get up at 7 a.m. because 5 a.m. because we have to get there because we have to do the gym and we have to. And she was comparing how life was in Italy, where people would just walk to the shops and buy some fresh vegetables, and there was none of the horrendous snacks and all of that. And it's just mindfulness, because they don't just sit and take the time. I mean, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is just being present in the moment. But it's like you say, it's become a multi-million-pound industry
but there's
that we feel guilty if we're not doing it in the way that it is.
Exactly.
But if you look at a child, or if you look at a hippie, or if you look at a yogi, my yoga teacher, she's just where she is. She's just in that moment. And that is the key to stress. Now, there's a 14-15 plan thing in this article, isn't there, about what to do about stress, which is quite stressful.
I mean, we haven't got time to go through them all, but we've got a little bit of time. I just want to say, mate, I'm beginning to wonder sometimes whether the reason we have such a problem is because of the tight-lipped, sort of buttoned up religious kind of origins of our culture. We came through Protestantism, we come through Catholicism, these religions, which are incredibly sort of back in the day, incredibly prescriptive, incredibly moral, damnation. You've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to produce almost, even though relative to now, it was nothing like now, but is it that we come from an incredibly sort of dictatorial religious background rather than, this is again a gross generalization, you look to other countries and other cultures where actually there is a much more kind of playful, childlike, lighter touch, whether it be Buddhism, whether it be Islam, whether it be whatever, are there, I sometimes wonder whether, because we as Brits seem to be so perversely, I mean, Americans too, so fucking under the gamut all the time, even in our peace, even in our sort of moments of kind of tranquility. It's like, are we doing enough? Can we fit it in? How do we schedule it? Get it on it's just like fucking hell. It feels like, I just want to say, Anthony Foligno, who has joined us today, who is a Welsh Italian. I've never spoken about the Italians in my life before, but what I think is lovely here is I'm just wondering, I just want to share what you've put here. There are lots of ways to limit stress and get help from others, but we don't talk to each other to help each other with it as much as we should. Maybe those Italian men that I've just been referring to, smoking their fags and having a coffee, are just not stressed.
They've got a few answers for you, matey Flip.
Yeah, there you go, you see.
Oh,
so finally. Corsets.
What are you going to do about your stress?
I'm going to put on a really tight corset.
I think to keep asking ourselves, am I feeling guilty about not being stressed? Am I creating this engine
Donna's comment is a
that
brilliant
keeps going?
Yeah.
And just stop yourself and just go, if you just go and sit down for a minute, just 1 minute, just go and sit.
Sandy makes a good point. Everyone wants everything nowadays.
Yeah.
Nice and simple. You've said it. And James Flanagan, when you're younger, people say, what would you be stressed about? So I always stayed shut. Even if I looked stressed, I'd deny it. Oh, wow. James. Yeah.
I want to live on a small holding, with the beach not too far. I want to walk and read and sit and think and have deep conversations with people that I love.
Nice.
That's what I want.
That's great. And then sex?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Fantastic.
Well, because you're going to have more, aren't you? Because you're not stressed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not with those people, with me. Andrea, when learning to be a Reiki healer, I learned dis-ease. We talk about that in recovery, actually. It causes disease. We all can be stressed. It is how we deal with it that is important.
And the list of things that they give in this article, diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, you understand why they are trying to get this message across that it's a killer.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's briefly just talk about, before we sign off, we're going to talk about corsets. Row erupts over, has a row really erupted over extreme corsets? But just to give you some context, I'm going to just play this in. This was Kim at the Met Gala.
If you saw our review of the Met Gala, first of all, I would have loved a little pin there about Gaza, but there we go. It's difficult, isn't it? Because when we did the review of the Met Gala catwalk, I was like, this is art, isn't it? This catwalk is about art. It's not about. It's a
fashion show.
It's a fashion show. It's about the drama, almost the humour in clothes, and everyone is trying to one up on the other. And I have no problem with the corset, because it's quite clearly a corset and it's just about being sort of over the top. But I don't know, is that now because I'm 60 this year and I've done so much work on myself and the way that I feel about my body, and that I'm not going to be influenced like that about, how I should or should not look? So I don't know. So I said to Mark, I'd quite like us to talk about it on here, because I'd love to know what other people think. Because I just went, well, it's just art. And we know it's ridiculous, but is that my age? I'm not the person that's vulnerable to that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Where our kids could be.
I get, yeah. I mean,
but then you've got to take out all fashion. You've got to take all body types. We can't remove every single thing that could give people a fuck up about their bodies. Well, we've got to make people strong enough that whatever they see, they have some strength in themselves.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know to what extent you can legislate or nanny state people into seeing someone wear something like this, which is patently, yes, okay, it's unique, it's odd. I think personally, the words I think are, it's patently ridiculous. I mean, where the hell have her body organs gone? Yes, she looks gorgeous, but gorgeous in what way? I mean, is she gorgeous because it goes in like that? No, I think
it's a stunning dress.
Yeah, what I think is gorgeous is the cardigan.
I love the cardigan.
Yeah, I like the cardigan, so I'd love to pull that off.
The cardigan is so sexy. It's soft, it's cashmere, it's soft grey.
But does this stuff, and if this stuff does filter into the minds, the hearts, and then the style choices that young women make.
Most people are just saying extremely uncomfortable. That's what I say. Can I just give my little? Speech about the orchid?
About the orchid.
Some of them will have heard it before, but can I just? So, this is what I say to friends of mine or our daughters, and I say, okay, so supermodels and movie stars are orchids. right? An orchid, such a rare flower that has to be kept in a glass ball. Little bits of oxygen, teeny bits of food. You know, it has to be watered just the right amount. And they're orchids, and they're rare, and this is why they have this huge amount of money, where they have these massive houses. They have all of this stuff, right? And then the rest of us are daffodils, right? And we can survive, like, if it rains too much, or if we get a bit too much food, or a little, or not quite enough, we can survive, and we can make people smile, because a daffodil is just a wonderful thing, and there's loads of them, or a poppy field, think of it like that. And so she's come out, many of them did, and we were like, wow, oh my God, look at this beautiful, rare orchid. But do I want to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning working out with my trainer for 3 hours? Do I want to be doing this? Do I want to be doing that? And then I have to have the luck of born with these extremely rare genetics, because the reason these people are so wealthy and so is because they are rare. And we just have to accept that we're daffodils, and then we have to find the joy in the being of the daffodil.
Right. Yeah.
Otherwise, we've got to be an orchid, and we've got to be in a glass jar, and we've got to only have so much food and so much air and so much water.
Hannah Liebschutz, Emma Stone said on the Graham Norton show that wearing a corset for the favourite temporarily shifted her organs. I just wonder. Yes, I know what you're saying. I think
we have to accept that people are these very, very beautiful people. We mustn't aspire to them. We must glory in them and say, what a beautiful work of art this body, this person is. But it's not me. I can never be like that. But you have to accept that you cannot be like that.
No, I know. I think the question more is...
That's what body acceptance is.
Yeah, I think the question more is the extent to which someone like Kim Kardashian, who, let's face it, she single-handedly dictates and shifts and changes potentially in one outfit or one cosmetic procedure or non-cosmetic procedure. She can dictate an entire generational shift in the quality or the look or the feel or the the standards of female beauty, I think.
That's why it takes a village, and older, wiser women have to help younger women understand in that way. And I really believe that is the way. And that is body acceptance. I don't believe in body confidence. I don't believe in any of that. I believe in accepting. And that doesn't mean you accept it if you're really unhealthy and you're eating too much. But it's accept. I'm a daffodil.
Okay, let's put it a different way. I get you. I don't think you can say to anyone, don't wear this, don't do this. I'm not a fan of I'm the same around censorship in films and stuff like that. I don't believe that it's the thing's responsibility to protect everyone. It's the people. Now, however, I do think there is a however here. Could and should and why does she have to wear something like that at all?
Because it's beautiful.
What? Beautiful is this?
The dress is extraordinary. The shape of it. Listen, it's the extreme look of the feminine form, isn't it? It's the big boobs, the tiny waist, the big hips.
I think she looks incredibly odd.
Yeah, it's an extreme form. It's like a caricature of a woman, isn't it?
Yes,
but it's like you are a very good-looking, gorgeous, sexy, wonderful man, right? But you're not a gladiator.
No.
You would say, you're a gorgeous, sexy, lovely woman.
On a Friday night in Vauxhall, I am.
But I ain't Angelina Jolie, and I ain't Kim Kardashian. But you love me.
Yeah, but we're talking.
That's the fact.
Chime in. I'm going to pull some of your comments up. The only reason I'm sitting back is the sun is appalling. I agree, but I think to young, influential kids, this isn't about she should, she shouldn't.
No.
We're assuming and expecting that the parents and the support network around all these young women is going to be rationalising, supporting.
No, it's not.
It's not at all.
I'm not assuming
and
that.
I just wonder whether, yes, of course, what she's done here is unique, it's odd, it's strange. But it could be a strange hat. It could be the dress inherently is beautiful without the need for her to have taken her waist into essentially
her choice.
The size of her
It's her choice.
spine.
It's irrelevant what she does. What is relevant is how we think and feel about ourselves, so we are strong and able enough to see anyone and not desire that. Listen, over the years, I've interviewed so many famous people, stunningly beautiful. They've got all the same bloody fears and insecurities. I mean, look at the Kardashians, for one thing. Every single one of them has had disastrous relationships. They've been agonised with the way that they've been treated. And that's what you have to make people understand, that a look is a look, but it doesn't say how life is going to treat us. And so by building our inner strength and not just saying, oh, don't be upset and don't look at, but just say, to recognize that is a stunningly beautiful in one form woman, but it's not you, and you will never be that.
Well, in principle, I agree. I suppose I'm just trying to come at it from the perspective of a responsible. You know, when sometimes a footballer does something awful in terms of their relationship with women or the way they treat women, and then, you know, the phrase role model is trotted out. You know, it's said, well, they're role models. You know, youngsters look up to them. I do think when you're in the public eye, you do have a role model-esque responsibility. And I do think that this, for me, when I look at this, I'm not saying she shouldn't, she can, but I think she's teetering on the edge of doing something or promoting a look that is potentially extraordinarily dangerous, I think.
Last year, she lost stones to look to be able to get
Squeeze
into the Marilyn dress,
Monroe
didn't
dress.
she?
Yeah.
You know, she does extreme forms.
No, I get that.
It's almost performance art.
Yeah, I get that too. I agree. And, you know, again, but okay. I mean, Lady Gaga is a performance art, but she doesn't go to.
I want to make my daughters strong enough in who they are to be able to look and appreciate beauty and just say, that's not my beauty, it's a different beauty.
Yeah, but I'm talking, I think the dress is beautiful. I think her waist is ridiculous.
The awful thing is, but when you wear something like that, you've got to take it off, haven't you?
Yes.
And then it all goes.
Yeah,
that's what I always think when I see an extreme course.
Okay, look, guys, Nadia's gonna step to the right. I'm gonna quickly do the Friday quiz, and I just wanted to quickly say, obviously. Israel, in terms of the Israel-Gaza crisis, Biden's weapon. When you dig into Joe Biden's weapon pause, it's so callous, even in its description. He says, we're not going to send you they're still sending weaponry. They just don't want to send weaponry that quite clearly, in its inherent design, kills innocents, i.e. it's imprecise. And so Israel is incredibly...
But they've been using imprecise.
Yeah, exactly, all the way through.
All the way through.
And what we're going to watch now, we indicated this yesterday, what we're going to watch is Israel is going to be incredibly sort of cagey about the definition of a Rafah invasion. It's going to happen it's going to be an encroachment. They're calling it a limited exercise. We're going to hear so many caveated phrases that will, in the end, you know, nothing Biden is saying about the limits he's putting in place gets in the way of the fundamentally large message that America is funding Israel to the tune of tens of billions of dollars. And even though he's talking about this weaponry is still getting through. This is Biden clearly appealing to his electorate. He wants to be seen to be being rational, reasonable, and humane, but it's not. He's not. It's an absolute lie. It's smoke and mirrors, absolute smoke and mirrors.
And we never ask you to share anything from our Instagram, but we would really love it whenever we post anything about Gaza. We would love that if you could share those posts, because it's really important. There are few people that are, you know, telly people, known people that are saying stuff. And this is, for me, what being a social media influencer is actually about. It's about building an amazing community that hopefully trusts us and trusts in this particular situation that we are coming from a humanitarian position and we are petrified about what's happening, and the mainstream media is not covering it, and we feel a passionate need to share. So if you can share all posts that we do on Instagram, just about Gaza, if you're comfortable with it, we'd really appreciate it.
I'd really like to know what James O'Brien's opinion is on LBC at the moment, because LBC last night is saying protesting against Eurovision is anti-Semitic. I mean, you know, I feel two things about the Eurovision Song Contest. One, I found it, we talked about it a couple of days ago, I just find it so odd that people get so excited about it. And two, this idea that it's, you know, not political.
I think the thing is, for leaders of the world to assume that people feel heard is insane. So when a big event, whether it is Eurovision, whether it's the football, this is where people feel like, oh God, right here, I could be heard. What people are saying is, we want you to stop arming and aiding a regime that is killing thousands of innocent people. It is not anti-Semitic to say that you want that to stop. It is human. And if it was happening the other way round and thousands upon thousands were getting killed, we would be saying it. This is about, and my father's Arabic, and I'm furious with the Arab countries. not supporting. So this is about an urgent humanitarian crisis that people are desperate. Students, Eurovision, us on our little channel, we're trying to go, excuse me, there's a fucking crisis happening of unbelievable proportions. And also, if the rest of the world think that it's not going to impact on them, are you crazy? Of course it is. The crisis is with these individuals, but it's going to affect all of us in all kinds of diseases embedding in there. They have no water. They don't have food. Disease is just that. If we just think of that, if we can't think about those individual innocent people with a human heart, many don't see Palestinians as humans. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Think about the pathogens and all that. Think about what happened a few years ago.
Siobhan O'More, thank you for mentioning this. The Israel song is clearly political. Shouldn't have been accepted as the entry. It really,
haven't heard this song.
It pivots around, isn't it around October the 7th? I mean, it doesn't target, I'm not saying it doesn't target or kind of, I don't think it has hate speech in it, but it does. But it's political. I mean, it is essentially political. So to pick and choose the politics is quite something, and no one is allowed apparently into the ceremony or into the audience with a keffiyeh.
Anyway.
Don't even get me started on that one. I mean, just want to say, just again, we said it again yesterday.
Let's have a Palestinian band in there.
If there's one thing you could do all the time, it is just reiterate and stress to everyone that to be anti-Israeli policy in Gaza is not anti-Semitic. To protest against your universities being invested in, Israeli companies and Israeli infrastructure that's supporting this genocide, that is not anti-Semitic. To be protesting against the Eurovision Song Contest is not anti-Semitic. This is the establishment wanting to change the narrative and make all of those people who are more likely to vote for them think, the resounding silence around Keir Starmer, who essentially is our Prime Minister, to be in waiting. I haven't seen a comment on Rafah. Haven't seen a comment. Mr. Geezer guy.
So where's his heart?
Mr. Geezer guy running around with his Gunners T-shirts on and all this kind of stuff. Boom.
My daughter needs me over there, so I'm just...
Okay, I'm going to quickly do the quiz, but yes.
Love you all. So tomorrow, don't forget Curly Cooks and Lee's 4th episode. It's Lee here on the Piece.
Yeah,
it's going to be a goodie.
I've just got to pull it up. So bear with me, guys. Get your pens and papers whilst I do. Oh, hang on. Where are you? You're all there. Just going to be 1 second as I just pull up the quiz of the week. You want to go into the weekend feeling good, don't you, Faith? And everyone else. So here we go. Quiz of the week. Oh, yes. We've got Met Gala. We've got all sorts in here. So let's have a look. Just put you over here. If you're listening on podcast, you're wondering what the hell's going on. Okay. Thanks, Julie, the singing nutcase. I love your name, Julie, the singing nutcase. Okay, question 1, everyone. See you with Rachel. We all watched, a lot of us watched it, Christine. Question 1. A-listers such as Zendaya, Uma Thurman, Barry Keoghan and Lana Del Rey were among the names to dazzle on the red carpet at the Met Gala. Which celebrity accessorized their outfit with a block of ice? Was it Camila Cabello, Ariana Grande or Katy Perry? Wow, that would have been a great one to feature. I wish we'd featured that. Stacey, very sweet. Did you hear about this? One of the people on the Met Gala had an accessory of a block of ice, like a bag.
Really?
Was it Camila Cabello, Ariana Grande, or Katy Perry? A, B, or C? Good Chip Lollipop. Russ, A. Wow, I wish we'd score that. We didn't have that in our breakdown.
How did that happen?
And all the woman who was carried who was wearing sand. I feel a huge sense of failure. You're all right. A. King Charles, question 2, was presented with an ornate inscribed record of his coronation almost a year after the service. Containing more than 11,500 words, stretching for 21 meters, the roll contains just one error. What is it? A, missing cross on a T, B, missing dot over an I, or C, missing a full stop. An ornate inscribed record of the coronation. This must be sort of one of those sort of archaic traditions. So there was a typo. What was it? A, a missing cross on a T, B, a missing dot over an I, or C, a missing full stop? Yes, MT, a rose was in the ice block. It looked amazing. I just saw an image of it. Julie, the singing nutcase, has said missing full stop. I went for missing full stop. Russ Souch, you're on fire today. It's missing dot over an I. You're right. Stacey Randall, bless you, sweetheart. Bless you. Question 3. Tributes were paid to Chris Helenga, founder of breast cancer awareness charity Copperfield, after she tragically died at the age of 38. What was the name of the book she wrote about her life after being diagnosed with terminal breast cancer in her 20s? Was it A, Copping Hold of Life, B, Dying to Live, or C, Glittering a Turd? Which of those was the title of the name of the book that she wrote about her life after being diagnosed? A, Copping Hold of Life, B, Dying to Live, C, Glittering a Turd. Anthony Foligno, thank you for joining us. You're saying B. Russ says C, Glittering a Turd. Good Chip Lollipop, Jan, Cloda, Raspberry Mojito Girl, hope you're all well. You're all saying C, Glittering a Turd. It is also the name of her Instagram account too. Question 4. Former Conservative Prime Minister Boris Johnson was turned away from his local polling station after forgetting to bring acceptable photo ID. Which publication did he later say he tried to use to prove his identity? Was it A, the Daily Telegraph, B, Prospect Magazine, or C, the Spectator Magazine? God, bloody Boris, eh? He's a right old one, isn't he? So he takes a magazine. Let's hope it's not the same magazine that Trump likes to have his arse whacked with. That should be the question, shouldn't it? What does Trump like to happen in the bedroom? Was it A, the Daily Telegraph, B, Prospect Magazine, or C, Spectator Magazine? Lots of you saying A. I said the Daily Telegraph. Russ, B for Boris, is saying Prospect Magazine. It was Prospect Magazine, B. Question 5. Oh, here we go. Adult film star Stormy Daniels told a New York court about a hush money payment at the center of the Trump criminal trial, which was paid to her before the 2016 election. What fake name did Daniels say she used to sign the legal document in which she agreed to stay silent? Was her name A, Stephanie Clifford, B, Laura Lee Lipton, or C, Peggy Peterson? Which of those names did Stormy Daniels adopt when signing the legal document she says she signed to agree to stay quiet? Was it A, Stephanie Clifford, B, Laura Lee Lipton, or C, Peggy Peterson? Lots of you saying Stephanie Clifford. Cass R, Truth Seeker, saying Laura Lee Lipton. Anthony Foligno is saying Laura Lee Lipton. Margaret O'Brien is saying C. Russ, ouch, you've fallen at the 5th. It's Peggy Peterson, C. Question 6. China's President Xi Jinping visited Europe for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic, with his first stop being France. What gift did French leader Emmanuel Macron give President Xi? A, a bottle of Remy Martin, Louis XIII cognac. B, classic French novels translated into Chinese. Or C, the works of Marcel Proust. A bottle of cognac, some classic French novels, some filth, and C, the works of Marcel Proust. I went for the works of Marcel Proust, but no, he went for something a little bit more sterner. Anthony Foligno says B, classic French novels. Bonnie Delaney says A, a bottle of cognac. Cloda says A, Muqtadir Ali. A, the country pumpkin says A, coming up on the inside. Cass R says A, you're all right. Final question. Football, you're all going to fail. Sheffield United equalled the record for the most goals conceded in a Premier League season as their tally hit 100 conceded in the match against Nottingham Forest. Which team had previously set the record for the most goals conceded in a Premier League season? Was it A, Derby County, B, Norwich City, or C, Swindon Town? I feel really bad because I've just got this one right, and that was based upon the idea of how good a football team I thought they were. Who once had set the record for the most goals conceded? Was it A, Derby County, B, Norwich City, or C, Swindon Town? The answer is Faith Goodman. You're absolutely right. Swindon Town. And it seems apt that you have got the final correct answer. Anyone get 7 out of 7? Oh, my elbow is killing me. Did you get 6? Whatever you got, you're probably going into the weekend feeling like a winner or an absolute loser. Don't get stressed by it, though. And if you're a woman, don't get sadder than you already are. And for God's sake, don't put on a corset because you'll be stressed and sad and breathless. Anyway, guys, thanks again to Stacey for those very generous gifts, and Ju B, who's gifted one membership too, and Anthony Foligno, welcome as a Welsh Italian. You are very welcome. And so there we have it. As I say, yeah, Curly Cooks is tomorrow. Curly Cooks is going to be it's pre-recorded. We're going to decide whether it might be a premiere which might be fun. And Leap Year episode 4 lands tomorrow night. So we will see you on. Lots landing.